Thanks for joining us. My name is Ibrahim Sani. We're looking at the National Energy Policy, or the NEP, of 2022 to 2040. This is because the NEP, or the National Energy Policy of Malaysia, that was launched, is talking about energy transition. It's talking about how to best power our nation moving forward, and perhaps trying to choose the energy mix that is not just sustainable but economically viable as well. There's a lot that needs to be unpacked here, and we need to speak to some of the authority of the issue. Joining us on the line in Dubai, actually, live, is Takao Tsukui, the Executive Vice President of International Sales and Marketing of Mitsubishi Power. Takao, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. We need to take a look into the kind of requirements that this country needs and this sector needs, not just within this nation, but of course the region as well. But before we jump into that, maybe you can share with us a little bit more about Mitsubishi Power's Takasago Hydrogen Park and perhaps some of the other offerings that your company does.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for having me here today, and I'm very delighted to be able to talk with you. So, as you said, yes, Malaysia has a very ambitious plan for the decarbonization up to the 2022 to 2040 national policy. So, we are here to be able to explain to you today what we have and what the society is waiting for, and what we do today. So, as you mentioned, Mitsubishi Power is a power systems arm of Mitsubishi Heavy Industries Group. It's a 140-year-old company history, and we provide power systems and technology and services. What we work on: gas turbines, steam turbines, boilers, all these generation equipments we have supplied to Malaysia in the past 60 years. And currently, we are developing a lot of technologies that would contribute to the decarbonization. The hydrogen park that you mentioned is one of the facilities that we are installing as we speak in Takasago, which is our mother factory of our gas turbine manufacturing. And we will be validating the production, the storage, and the supply system of the hydrogen, which will be sent to our actual gas turbine in operation today in the Takasago facility, so that we'll be mixing the hydrogen into the gas turbine. So that's the plan for the hydrogen park.
It seems like Mitsubishi Power is betting big on hydrogen generation. Perhaps you can share with us why Mitsubishi believes that hydrogen generation is the step forward in terms of decarbonizing the energy sector.
Sure. Well, hydrogen is one of the leading resources, or leading energy for the decarbonization. This will be a huge impact to the global society, and we believe that hydrogen utilization on gas turbines is one of the major solutions for decarbonization to supply reliable and affordable power to the industry.
Do you believe that the amount of research and development that is done in this space is enough, or still lacking, or are we on track in terms of trying to find more or extract more out of hydrogen transition?
Yeah, there's several stages for hydrogen. There's the supply chain side, which is production, the storage, and the supply, and then you have the utilization. So our key focus right now is the utilization side on the generation assets, to be able to utilize a large amount of hydrogen into these power generation facilities. On the other hand, there are still a lot of challenges that has to be overcome on the supply chain side, as I mentioned about the production and the storage and the supply. So a lot of the Asian countries are still considering and studying what would be the best solutions for applying hydrogen to their energy sectors. And this is something that we have to keep on discussing and cooperating between the governments and the countries in the coming several decades. Yes.
Let's talk about some of the case studies that you can share with us this morning. I'm trying to focus not just on Malaysia, but Asia Pacific as well. Maybe you can share with us 2 or 3 examples or case studies where one nation is doing better, another nation is actually trying to understand this a little bit more. Where do we stand in terms of the stack of countries in terms of adopting hydrogen for decarbonizing the energy sector?
Yeah, that's a great question. We feel, yeah, when we talk about Asia Pacific, probably the most aggressive as of today is Singapore. Singapore is studying many solutions for the decarbonization of their grid and their systems. They're studying both sides on hydrogen and ammonia. And I think the government is in a strong lead to achieve that. We just signed a contract last year with Keppel Infrastructure on a hydrogen-ready gas turbine power plant. So we will start construction of a gas turbine power plant from this year that would utilize up to 30% of hydrogen co-firing. Now, on the other hand, of course, how to supply the hydrogen to the power plant is something that has to be studied and accomplished when the power plant comes into operation in late 2025. There are several options of importing the hydrogen. So that's still under study, but probably I would see that is one of the leading projects in the region.
What about Malaysia, Takao?
So Malaysia, yes, we just had a great event last month in Kuala Lumpur. We had about 130 experts, industry leaders, and customer executives attending, and we did some presentations. We connected live to Takasago and did a live tour of the Takasago facilities, Hydrogen Park, and we discussed over okay, what can be done in Malaysia. So there are several steps. I think the first step is, of course, you have the very aggressive target to reduce the coal facilities and increase the renewables. And in that transition, gas will obviously be a major player. Installing gas plants in the coming decade, and then future converting that into 100% hydrogen is one of the major, I think, roles or the major milestones that Malaysia would be considering to achieve the decarbonization.
And because of this, I want to understand a little bit better in terms of policies and investments that is required. Malaysia specific, where do you see Malaysia and Malaysia's interest in terms of formulating policies that would allow for private players like yourselves to build better solutions for hydrogen?
Sure. So I think government support is definitely essential. This goes to any other countries. Even like example in the U.S., the project that we are currently constructing in the U.S. has some DOE funding that are supporting the hydrogen production and supply system. So any country, I think, has a necessity in the initial stage for government support. We have the technology. The actual conversion of a gas turbine to hydrogen combustion is not that difficult. We have already achieved 30% co-firing, and we are on plan to be able to go up to 100% 2025 and onwards. So the challenge more is the government support on the supply chain side, and I think that's a cooperation with the nearby countries. Australia or India could be one of the potential suppliers for hydrogen. And I think there needs to be some kind of a framework between the countries to be able to have a stable and reliable hydrogen supply system.
Okay, we'll go for one short break. When we come back, we'll discuss a little bit more with Mitsubishi Power. Thanks for continuing on with us. I have with me Takao Tsukui, the EVP of Mitsubishi Power. We're talking about some of the solutions when it comes to energy transition and, in this case, hydrogen. Let's talk a little bit more in terms of the talent requirements that is needed in order for this to take place. I'm pretty sure that Mitsubishi Power has plenty of talents when it comes to rolling out hydrogen solutions, but this must not be just looked at from a company specific. We need to look at the kind of resources that is required here in this country amongst the talent pool that we have. Where do we stand in terms of trying to bridge that gap? I'm presuming there is a gap in terms of the talents that we have right now in the market versus the kind of talent that is needed in order to roll out solutions like this in this country.
Sure. I think after our technology seminar that we held last month, I felt very, very confident that Malaysia has great talents, a lot of experts and the subject matter experts that can talk and discuss and decide about the hydrogen policy. So in terms of talent, I think we are developing each other together with companies like us or that have the technology and that have the roadmap to develop these solutions. And talking with the industry experts on the Malaysian side, we had some great discussions of what we can do and what Malaysia side can do. So I feel pretty confident that such kind of discussions going together in the coming years would definitely develop the right talents in the country.
And of course, we are also trying to benchmark this solution, hydrogen solution, versus all the other energy mixes that is currently made available. I'm not trying to get you to sell hydrogen, but perhaps give an unbiased opinion in terms of why a country needs to go for this solution in terms of trying to move towards decarbonization. Why not any other ways of doing it? I just had a company talking about solar and talking about wave. Why hydrogen when it comes to trying to get the best out of decarbonizing the energy solution?
Well, obviously, hydrogen is a great solution for generation purpose in terms of it can be 100% burned on combustion turbines. This is one of the biggest reasons, but I don't want to mislead that this is the only solution. I agree that there are multiple solutions for decarbonization, and such kind of work has to be done. Renewable side, solars and wind, even some countries with geothermal, and then there's the nuclear mix in some countries. And the decarbonization fuels such as hydrogen and ammonia comes into play together. So it's not really only hydrogen or hydrogen is the solution, but it's one of the solutions that work together with the renewables. And because why I say that is, you've heard about the green hydrogen, green ammonia. This is coming from the excess renewable energy. Renewable energies cannot be controlled versus the demand. The supply comes when the sun shines and the wind blows. So if there's excess power of the renewable, you can produce hydrogen with electrolyzers by using the renewable energy. And that hydrogen can be stored somewhere in pipeline or underground and used like a energy storage system. So this is another characteristics of hydrogen, that it's not just a fuel, but it's an energy storage system to surplus together with the renewable energy system.
And perhaps because of this, besides hydrogen, what are the cleaner alternatives that you have mentioned just now? But what are the cleaner alternatives that we can actually think about or adopt moving forward, and perhaps draw some ideas into what Mitsubishi Power is doing right now on top of hydrogen?
Sure. I just mentioned about ammonia. The difference between ammonia and hydrogen is the supply infrastructure. The ammonia supply infrastructure already exists, and it's easier to handle energy source. So ammonia probably would be one of the solutions in the Asian market also. We have also a smaller size gas turbine, 40 megawatt size, that can go up to 100% ammonia direct firing. So this is also in study in some of the AP regions, and also ammonia to be blended into the existing power plants, like the coal power plant that you have in the country that is a little bit too early to retire. Then you can blend in ammonia to reduce the carbon and continue the operation for another while before you go to the net zero decarbonization.
The thing is, a significant portion of Malaysia's energy currently is generated by natural gas and LNG, or liquefied natural gas. And the idea here is for us to accelerate the reduction of the carbon footprint of LNG power system as best as we can. Where do you think we fare on this point? How do you think we're doing right now?
So I'll have to be honest. We just started, so I think we are at the starting point right now, and Malaysia is no different than most of the countries in the Asia Pacific region. We are all starting to how to decarbonize the system. Every country is declaring their policies and their net, zero targets and so on. So I think generally on track, good discussions are going on what we can do to the system. Existing power plants need to be, worked on to decarbonize, and new power plants need to be made sure that it is ready for decarbonization in the future.
Right now, we're looking at how your company, Mitsubishi Power, is collaborating in the region in adopting hydrogen. Drawing on your experience, what would be some of the risks and challenges in trying to deploy this type of energy transition, particularly items that might not necessarily be thought of earlier, but as you do it, you encounter it, and maybe you can share with us these kind of trials and tribulations in rolling out the solution.
Sure. Other than the supply chain side about hydrogen that I mentioned, also another point that we need to consider is the global cooperation. If one country is extremely proceeding with decarbonization and applying hydrogen, and if another country is not, then there will be a unbalance in the industry. Some companies may be spending a lot of costs for decarbonizing their products, and then other countries may not be, then that will cause imbalance in the competition. So I think something that we need to be careful is that it's very important that, especially in the region, that the countries cooperate in the policies, and that one country over the other is not going too much ahead, that the private sectors may, at the end, have additional costs on top of them that may cause incompetitiveness in the global market.
All right. We'll go for one more short break before we continue on our conversation with Mitsubishi Power. Thanks for staying on with us. I have with me Takao Tsukui of Mitsubishi Power. Very recently at the World Economic Forum, energy transition is a big agenda there. A few of my colleagues went there, and there seems to be a lot of genuine interest in trying to make this work. There seems to be a grave concern in trying to address climate change or arrest the rising temperature. But based on the conversations that I've had with my colleagues when they returned back to Kuala Lumpur after the Davos meeting, they seem to be skeptical that these world leaders know what they're doing, the kind of requirements, commitment that is required to ensure that energy transition can be done. And we're not trying to solve the global's problem here per se, we're trying to solve one problem at a time. How do you fare in terms of trying to make sure that your work actually leads up to something extremely meaningful in order for us to address this quite literally global problem that we have right now?
Mm-hmm. So for Mitsubishi Power, we want to be sure that we are ready for the technical solutions to support the decarbonization. Now, which way the world is going, there is so many uncertainties in today's world. The Ukraine-Russia situation changed the whole energy balance, and a lot of things that was not expected, and operation of existing units and supply of natural gas, the price of natural gas. There are so many uncertainties, but from Mitsubishi Power's perspective, we want to be sure that we are ready to be able to support the several options that most countries have in decarbonization, which includes hydrogen, ammonia, biomass, such kind of alternative fuels to achieve the decarbonization. So I have to admit there are a lot of uncertainties still, but the important thing is that from Mitsubishi Power's standpoint, we are ready to support this from the technology side.
Speaking about the conflict that is currently happening, I'm sure you've been doing this for quite some time now, and people did not expect, say for instance, the energy supply to move quite dramatically from Western Europe, actually most of Europe actually, away from Russia towards self-sustenance. Russia also is actually trying to sell their energy better to some of their allies in the eastern part of the world, and this dramatic shift quite literally happened in 1 year or over the span of 1 year. Because of these shift in changes, how do you think geopolitical security is going to be impacted based on the energy conversation of the world right now? Do you think that this is going to be a key topic of the day for this year when it comes to energy supply, energy mix, and energy supply chain?
So 2023 would definitely still remain with the impact of the conflicts going on. I would see that gas prices will be relatively high, and it would impact some of the regions. And long-term wise, probably the decarbonization roadmap and the path going forward, the big picture will not change. But in the short term, we have to be prepared. Any country or any sectors need to be prepared to have the right solutions and the choices. And we are working with many companies on. Some people want to stay away from the gas for now. And then in such case, we can go to biomass, or we can put ammonia in the existing boilers. That's one option. Or even with the expensive gas, we have the most efficient gas turbine, the large JAC gas turbine, 64% above thermal efficiency, which helps the customers with expensive gas with the better efficiency from their existing units.
Okay, and the final area of discussion that I want to explore is on current incumbents, particularly big oil. Just 2 days ago, BP announced record profits. Shell also did the same. We're expecting Petronas to do the same as well, based on the high petroleum prices of last year and early part of this year. In fact, CNBC has dubbed it big oil profit bonanza, so to speak. Because of this, do you think that there is an incentive for big oil to actually move towards cleaner energy, considering that they're reaping a lot of money from carbon energy?
Absolutely, yes. We are seeing that in the market right now. The big oil majors are aggressively incentivized to invest into the decarbonization. And yeah, we are having multiple discussions right now.
That's pretty disheartening. I thought, I mean, you know, I can be hopeful, I suppose, but I mean, if the incentive is there, they would do it, right? What do you think, Takao?
Well, incentive-wise, yes. I think any sector would be investing eventually. It's a matter of timing. It's just the fact that the oil majors are, you know, strongly moving towards. I think it's driven from their customers, their stakeholders. You know, a lot of pressure from the market that
Yeah.
you know, decarbonization is necessary, and oil majors will be one of the leaders in this field.
And because of that, do you feel that the discipline in order to try to develop decarbonization energy solutions is actually quite critical? Because if you don't have these kind of discipline, you tend to lose track and you tend to follow the thing that you have been doing for the past 50 years, maybe.
Yeah, discipline definitely necessary, and as I said repeatedly, government policies and supports are also very influential to this. So a mixture in the government side and the private side is
Okay.
going to probably be the key solution.
Final question to you, Takao, is of course the Natural Resources Ministry of Malaysia. For the first time ever, it has been redubbed to be climate change as well. Because of this, do you see a clear intent and signal from this current administration that they're rather serious in terms of finding solutions and build policies to help these solutions come through? Do you feel that there is an optimism in the air when it comes to Malaysia trying to find climate change solutions in the near term?
Absolutely, I believe that. I think there is a very strong signal and seriousness towards this global climate impact. And through the discussions that we had in Kuala Lumpur, I think there's going to be a lot more discussions this year to achieve these goals in the near future.
Thank you very much. That was Takao Tsukui, the Executive Vice President of International Sales and Marketing at Mitsubishi Power, joining us all the way from Dubai. Stay tuned with Astro AWANI. There's plenty of news that is going to be coming up next. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Catch you in the next one.